All right, it's been a minute, man, since I done one of these. I'm gonna try to get back into it and do another coding challenge. What's up, everybody? All right, it's been a minute, man, since I done one of these. So I'm gonna try to get back into it and do another coding challenge. What's up, everybody? All right, it's been a minute.
I gotta mute my computer or something.
Alright, so now my computer's muted. Can y'all still hear me? If anybody's on here, can you still hear me?
I gotta mute my computer or
Alright,
something.
anyway, doing another coding challenge. Appreciate y'all joining. It's been a minute since I did one of these, so just bear with me. I'm gonna try to go through an easy one. Start back with the easy ones. I'm gonna try to work my way up to mediums again, and then maybe even do some hard ones one day. I'm gonna try to go through it. But yeah, I'm doing another coding challenge. I'm gonna use JavaScript. I'm on LeetCode.com, and maybe even do some. Hope folks can join in and see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm doing another coding challenge. JavaScript. Let's jump into it. LeetCode.com. So I'm live on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, everywhere at the same time. So if you want to jump to another platform, feel free.
Instagram,
But without further ado, I'm gonna jump into this problem. So this problem is from LeetCode.com. It's a coding challenge called Move Zeros, and the problem goes as such. Given an integer array called nums, move all the zeros to the end of it while maintaining the relative order of the non-zero elements. And that you must do in place without making a copy of the array. So it's an easy problem, or it's considered easy, but if you've ever done these before, if you ever started trying to learn how to do these before, none of them are easy until you get better. Easy problem, or it's considered easy. So there's examples here. Here's an array called nums, like they said in the problem. 0, 1, 0, 3, and 12. Which what they want you to do is move the non-zeros to the front of the array, but they want you to do this in place without making a copy of the array. So you can't like make a whole new array and then just find the numbers and move it to this different array, or make a whole copy of the array and then try to use that to rewrite the first array. And then just basically, I think what they're saying here is they don't want you to use any what's called space. They don't want you to store anything. They want you to take the array you have, basically, and modify it. I think what they're saying here in place to be the array that they want you to use. And then example 2 is just 0 and 0. So basically, that's obviously just 0 because you don't need to move any non-zeros to the front. The constraints is the length of the nums is always going to be at least 1, so you don't have to worry about the case where the array is empty. So there always be at least 1, and then 10 to the 4th power. So it's like in between 1 and 10 to the 4th power. That's a pretty large number, but probably doesn't matter for the context of this problem. Just that it's not so large that it would like destroy, that it would like be like a memory overflow or something like that. And then each number individually in the array is greater than or equal to negative 2 to the 32nd power, or 2 to the 31st number individually 31st power minus 1. So those are pretty big numbers, but it's just letting you know what range the numbers are between. And then it's a follow-up here. Could you minimize the total number? Those are pretty big numbers, but it's just letting you know what range the numbers are between. Y'all let me know if I still got an echo or whatever. I tried to mute it so I wouldn't have an echo. I think it was my computer feedback, but I think it's not anymore. So y'all let me know if I still got an echo. Yeah, appreciate everybody that's joined so far. We're about to jump into the problem. Just read the question or whatever. Y'all let me know if I still got. And so appreciate everybody that's joined so far. We're about to jump. If you ever see me do one of these before, it's been a while since I've done them. If you ever see me do these before, what I like to do is kind of talk through the solution in my head. If you ever see me, maybe even write it down. And then I take what solution I have in my head and try to put it to code using the write it down. And then I take data structures and algorithms that I know and try to put it to code. And somebody said it's still hearing an echo. I'm trying to think, why would there be an echo if there's no sound coming back? Data structures and algorithms head and try to put it to code. Somebody said it's still weird. Anyway, let me see if I can try to
Data structures and algorithms.
move my mic back or something like that. Somebody said it's still. It might be. Anyway, the TikTok. See if I can try that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. Back or something like that. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing.
Anyway,
so yeah, like how I like to do these is normally.
Anyway, I'm gonna keep going.
Work the problem in my head first.
Hopefully you can see what I'm
So as I'm looking at this, if they want me to do this in
like how I like
place,
to do these is normally
the way I originally thought about this is that I know I need to loop through this
as I'm looking
array
at this,
and look at every single number in here and determine, do a different operation based on whether it's a 0 or whether it's a non-zero, like another type of number, negative or positive.
Do a different operation based on whether it's a
I know that I need to move these non-zero numbers, negative or positive, to the front of the array.
I know that
And so
I need to.
there's the first thing I thought to do was make another array, like loop through this, take account of all the non-zeros, put that in another array, and then
first thing I
loop
thought
through
to
this,
do was make
the
another
original
array,
array,
like
and
loop
just
through
put
this,
the
take
non-zero
account
numbers
of all the
back in,
non-zeros,
and anywhere
put that
that's
in
left,
another
just put a
array.
0 in, and then you
the
would
first
basically
thing I
do
thought to do
this.
was make
But they won't let you do that
original
because
array,
they're saying you need to do this in place.
non-zeros,
So the
anywhere
other
that's
thing I
left,
thought
just
about
put a
doing
0
was
in.
simply
First thing I thought
looping
this,
through
but
the
they won't let
array,
you do that because
and then whenever I hit something that's not a 0,
so the other thing I thought
then
about doing was
swap it
looping
with
through the array.
the-
Do that because
and then
like
whenever
the
I
last,
hit
like
something
the
that's not a 0,
So
earliest
the
0
other
that I
thing
have,
swap
or the last place I've updated. And so it's kind of complicated to think about, but it's almost like I loop through here, but then I also keep track of what I updated, and then I just move the next non-zero number to the front of the next space that I haven't updated yet, if that makes sense. So it's almost like a two-pointer, well, it's definitely a two-pointer approach where I would keep track of, I would loop through this basically with 2 pointers, one that's just looping through each number, and the other one that's keeping track of like how far have I updated yet. And so if I loop through this, I went, if I like go 0, 1, 0, 3, 12. If I go 0, if I loop through this, then I know that's a 0, so I don't need to do anything with it. If I get to 1, I know that's something I need to move to the front. So I would just swap it with 0. And then I would get 1, 0. I get to 1, I know that's something I would move on to 0. I know I don't need to do anything with that. Then I would move on to 3. And then with 3, I would swap that with the 0 that's here because I already swapped it out with 1. And then I would go on to 12. And then I would swap that with 0 as well. That's here because I already swapped it out with 1. And then I would go on to 12. And then I would swap that with 0.
Somebody keeps saying it's echoing. I don't know why it's echoing. I'm trying to think what else I can mute.
And then I would swap that with 0.
Somebody keeps saying it's echoing. I don't know why it's echoing.
Yeah, my bad is echoing, y'all. I'll try to figure that out. I muted my computer, so it shouldn't be echoing. Yeah, my bad is echoing, y'all. I'll try to figure that out. I muted my computer, so
Why would it be echoing?
Yeah, my bad.
Maybe it's something with my microphone. Maybe I can turn my microphone down or something.
Yeah, my computer.
Turn the gain down on my microphone.
Yeah, my bad.
Maybe it's something with my microphone. Maybe I can turn my microphone down.
I don't know. But yeah, appreciate it. Sorry if it's echoing, man. I'm gonna try to figure out what I can do. Anyway. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Sorry if it's echoing.
Oh, what's
man.
up,
I'm gonna
Dexter?
try to
Dexter jumped on here and punched the computer. Yeah, I tried.
Anyway.
Hey, I need to, man.
Appreciate
it. I don't know what's going on.
Sorry,
It's echoing.
what's up, Dexter?
But anyway,
Dexter jumped on here and punched
where
the
was
computer.
Yeah, I tried.
I need to, man.
Yeah, so
I don't know
like
what's going
basically
on.
what
What's up,
the solution I'm
Dexter?
thinking
Anyway,
is
Dexter
just
jumped on here and
where
punched
was
the computer.
every time I run into a number that's not a 0,
so, like,
I swap
basically
it to
what
the
I'm-
front. the solution
until
I'm
I
is just
get to this.
Every
and it's
time
kind of hard to explain.
I run into
actually,
a number
so
that's
I
not
think I'm gonna
zero,
just jump into the
I
code
swap
and
it
explain
to
why I
the
do the
front.
code.
The solution
And I think
I'm
that
like
might
is
make more
just
sense.
it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, let's jump over here and do it. So yeah, this is the code section on LeetCode.com. They have they basically scoped out the problem, or they scaffolded out the code function for you. They have they basically scoped out the problem, or they scaffolded out somebody said stop it and redo it. I might stop it and redo it if it's still echoing. I don't know. But then if I stop it and redo it and it's echoing again, I don't know. I might stop it and redo it if it's still echoing. Think of why it would be echoing. But then if I stop it and redo it and it's echoing again, I don't know. I might stop it and redo it if it's still echoing. Oh shoot, it might be. But then if I stop it and redo it and it's echoing. Oh shoot, maybe I need to mute my. I might stop it and redo it if it's still echoing. Oh shoot, it might be. But then if I stop it and redo it and it's echoing. Oh shoot, maybe I think I need to mute. I might stop it and redo it if it's still echoing. Oh shoot, it might be. I think it's my monitor. I think I need to mute this thing though. All right, am I still echoing now? Somebody let me know if I'm still echoing. I hope I'm not echoing anymore. I think I muted I hope I muted it. So anyway, just let me know if I'm still echoing. But anyway, I'm gonna keep going. So I'm gonna keep on going with the problem. So they scaffold out the problem for you here on LeetCode. It's called, appreciate it. Yes, it stopped echoing. All right, appreciate it. I scaffold out the problem, LeetCode scaffolds out the problem for you. And how I'm thinking to start this is you have this move zeros function. You're getting in nums, just to do a read of the question. I need to take all the non-zeros in the array and move them to the front and have the zeros at the end. So you're basically sliding up all these non-zero numbers to the front of the array. So that's what I need to do. And so in my mind, I know the first thing I need to do is loop through the nums. You need there's no way you can do this without at least looping through. This should be 0. So just do a simple loop to start with. This is something that you just have to know how to do before you start doing problems like this, like simple loops. This is just a simple loop to loop through this array that's called nums. And so what I need to do is look at every number in the array and check if it's a 0 and check if it's a 1. Check if it's a 0 or check if it's a non-zero. And I need to do something different based on whether it's a 0 and something different based on whether it's a non-zero. So what I can do is I can access at I, since I is my iterator. At I can say if I does not equal 0, which means I can't type when people are looking at me. If the number at this interval, at this I, is not equal to 0, then I need to do this particular action or whatever. And so what I need to do here is basically, so let's look at this as an example. As I'm looping, my code right now is looking for whether it's a 0 or whether it's not a 0. So if I loop here, it's a 0. So I would skip my if statement. But when I get to 1, it isn't a 0. So I would actually go into this statement. And what do I want to do when I get to a 1 that's a non-zero? I basically need to move it up to the front. How can I move this 1 to the front like it is here? Well, what I can do is swap it with this 0. But how do I know to swap it to the 0? How can I do that? Well, what I can do is I can keep another pointer that points to
a swap place. Like, where should I be swapping stuff to? And somebody said, Joseph Jones, what's up, man? He said, don't not equal ain't set up right. I can do not equal like that, I think. Or maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, so what I'm also gonna do, and I'm sorry if this is confusing, because this actually is a confusing one to explain now that I'm trying to explain it. But I'm gonna make this thing, I'm gonna call it swap index, and I'm gonna start it at 0. So this is gonna keep track of where I need to swap my non-zero number to the start of the array. So like I said, I'm pushing all my non-zero numbers to the start of the array, but I need to keep track of where to push the next number. And so how I can do that is whenever I see a non-zero number, I'm going to switch it to the spot where my swap index is. So to start, my swap index is going to be 0. So when I see a 1 here, I want to swap it to 0. And then once I got 1 swapped, I know I'm done there. So I can move my swap index up to here. And then then my regular index is going to keep moving to here. And it's going to see 0. So it's going to skip that. And it's going to move to 3. And it's going to say, okay, you need to swap this 3 to move it earlier because it's a non-zero. My swap index will now be here. And I'll swap the 3 to here just like it's showing here. So I know that's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like some little mental gymnastics you got to do to kind of understand. This is JavaScript for whoever's asking what language this is. Somebody want to see the problem again. Here it is over here. Basically, I need to move all these non-zeros up to the front of the array and put all the zeros at the end. But I got to do this in place without making a copy of the array. What I see this as, like, if you're in an interview, you probably need to ask them, like, does it mean that I can't use any space? Like, I can't use any extra data structures that hold space? Or does it mean that I can't just make a copy of the array for whatever reason I would do that for? But what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to use any extra space. Like, I'm not going to use a different data object. And so for that, you need to understand space and time complexity with algorithms and data structures. But I'm going to do a little bit of explaining to that too once I get done. So anyway, I got this swap index. And so what I want to do when I see anything that's not equal to 0, I want to use that swap index. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the number I'm looking at now. Matter of fact, I'm going to make another variable current num, so this makes more sense to people. It looks more clear. But I actually probably to make the algorithm more optimal, I probably wouldn't even have this extra variable holding here, but I'm gonna do it for clarity, for just cleaner code that looks a lot cleaner. And so what I want to do is swap my current number with the swap index space that I'm currently at. So that's going to start at 0. So once I see something that's not 0, how you can swap is you can basically make a temporary variable, and you can say, I want to take the num. So my swap index, that's how I access the number at the swap index. I'm going to put that in a temporary variable so I can save the state of it because I'm going to change it. And then I'm going to swap it and make it equal to current num. And then the current num, I want to actually make it equal to the swap index, but the value of it. So this temp, which this actually making it current nums actually made it more confusing, I feel like. So I'm going to take that away. I think it was probably better just being this. So then you can clearly see that I'm taking num swap index and setting it equal to the current number. And then I'm taking the temp that I saved earlier and setting it equal to nums at I. So this code may look confusing to some. all I'm doing is swapping two numbers in the array. One at the swap index and one at the current index that I'm on. As a matter of fact, I can just call this might make it more clear if I make this current index. Instead of I, make it current index. So you can really tell that it's the current index getting switched over. And so yeah, I'm saving my swap index number in this temp variable and swapping it with this current index number. And I do this every time I see a number at the current index that isn't equal to 0. And so then the last thing I need to do is, in this case, after I made a swap here, I need to basically update the swap index. And so how you do that is move it to the next one, doing like swap index plus plus, basically adding 1 to it. And so because I added this to the swap index, now the next time I need to swap, I will swap with the next spot that I need to swap to, if that makes sense. Maybe a little confusing, but that's basically how you can complete this problem, because you're looping through with one index that's just going normally through the array, and then you're looping through, have a slow pointer that's called your swap index, that every time you move the 1 here, then you move your swap index to the next spot, and then you move your 3 to the next swap index, then you move the swap index here, and then you move the 12 to the swap index, and then you move the swap index here, and then then after that you have nothing but zeros left and you're fine. And then you'll end up switching around this array in place to get all the non-zeros moved up to the front. So I know that's confusing. Feel free to ask questions, or it could be confusing to some. Yeah, somebody even said you could rename the I variable to current index. Yep, I ended up doing that. So appreciate you saying that. But yeah, so this should work. Sorry, there's not a lot of space. I'm trying to zoom in so it's big enough for people to see. But I might zoom out a little bit. Yeah, zoom out a little bit. Yeah, I think this should work. So in a coding interview, usually what you would do, some companies don't even let you run the code. Some companies do let you run the code, but they want you to talk through it first. So a lot of times it's always good to just talk through your code and maybe even trace through it by hand, quote unquote by hand, like trace through it by like reading through it. So let's say I had say nums. How I like to do it is use comments. Let's say nums was equal to this, and then I like to put down all my different variables. Swap index, which swap index is probably should be ahead of that one. So you should, when you're tracing through code like this, it's good to just keep a comment of what everything is set to. And then that'll kind of help you figure out what's going on. So let's go through it with this problem. So we need this. We need to push 1, 3, and 12 to the front of this array and put all the zeros at the end. So when we run this code, nums will get passed in this. And then swap index will instantly get set to 0. So let's set that up here, 0. Then we're going to start this loop right here. Scroll down a little bit. Then we're going to start this loop right here. And then, we're going to start going into this. So once we start going into this, the first thing that happens is current index gets set to 0. And this loop will happen as long as current index is less than the length of the nums. And then it's going to get iterated every time it loops through. The next line, does nums current index greater than 0? Well, nums current index at 0 is, matter of fact, we can kind of say maybe what. Can put nums current index, what that is, and we can put nums swap index, or what that is. Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
num swap index, what that is. So num's current index is here. At current index 0 is 0. It's 0. Num swap index is also 0. So in this case, this is probably some optimization could be done here, like because these are actually the same value, so they actually really don't need to be swapped. So you could actually put some more logic here to not swap in this case, but I'm gonna leave it here for right now. So in this case, these numbers are gonna get swapped. Like num swap is gonna get put, and I can do temp, but that may be a little complicated. I mean, that may be a little unnecessary, but like basically these are gonna swap the numbers. So it's gonna put this in temp, it's gonna make that 0. Then we're gonna put current index 0 into swap index right here, and then we're gonna put the temp into current index. So to basically swap the numbers. And then swap index is gonna get plus to be 1. And then we're gonna come out of this and go back to the top of the loop where current index is gonna get plus get added 1. And so now both the swap index and the current index are 1. Oh shoot, and I think I messed that up. I messed that up completely wrong. Because let me think. Yeah, because I shouldn't even went in here actually. Because if this is 0, so let's go back. 0, 0. If I come in here, current index is 0. It's if not equal 0. So I screwed up there. So then you would skip this whole section. Current swap index would stay 0, but current index would go to 1. And then you would come in here again. Now current index equals 1. And then current index is not equal to 0. So you do actually go in here. You're going to do a swap right here. 1. And so when you do that swap, matter of fact, see, I shouldn't use these. I should just swap it here. And then just put that like that. Yeah, so I'm going to erase these. So yeah, these got swapped. And then swap index gets added to. Current index gets added to. Come back in here again. Num's current index of 2 is 0. Does it equal 0? Yes. So we skip this whole thing and come back in the loop again. Current index goes to 3. So num's current index equals 3 is not equal to 0. So you come in here and do a swap. So that means 3 is going to swap with 1. So this is index 3. This is index 1. So that means 3 is going to swap with 1 like that. Then swap index is going to jump up again. And then you're going to come back in here again. Current index is going to swap again, going to jump up again. Then what is current index now? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 12. It does not equal 0. So it comes in here and does a swap with index 2, 0, 1, 2. So that means 12 is going to swap here. And so now you've gotten the answer that you wanted already. And then swap index is going to go up. And current index is going to go up. But now current index, I think might be too large, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it has to be, current index needs to be less than number of the length of the array. So then you're going to break out of the array at that point, and we're done. So now we're going to, and the one thing I forgot to do, and this is why you should run through your code before you run it, manually run through it, is I didn't return nums at the end, in place. So I changed it in place, but now I need to return it at the end. So I forgot to do that. But this is what its value is now. So this is the answer that they wanted. 1, 3, 12, 0, 0. If you go back to the problem, for example 1, to move all the 1, the 3, and 12 to the front of the array, 1, 3, and 12, and now the zeros are at the end. And when I ran through my problem manually, I got the 1, 3, and 12 at the start and the zeros at the end. So this, according to me manually running it, this works.
And sometimes in some interviews, like the bigger interviews I did, they won't even have you run the code in a runner. They'll have you manually walk through it like I just did. And sometimes you can kind of get by, even if your code wouldn't have worked normally, you could almost skate by the interview if you can explain it well and your code actually looks like it works. You could actually get through an interview without your code really actually working. Like you could still have bugs in your code and get through an interview. But that's because they're not looking for the perfect code. They're looking for how you think. They're looking for your problem solving. Did you know how to solve the problem? Did you ask the right questions? Blah, 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 blah. You know, all that stuff. So, but we're on LeetCode, so we actually are going to run the code. I'm going to, the one thing they probably asked in the interview, whether you run the code or not, is they're going to ask the time and space complexity. So like I said, this problem asked me I don't know if it was really asking me not to use any space, but this is what this means to me. Don't make a copy of the array. So I didn't use any space. So the space complexity for this solution is big O of 1 or constant space. Because the only space I use is like in constant variables that'll be cleaned up after execution or after they're not needed anymore. They'd be like garbage collected or whatever. I guess data structure would be garbage collected too, but I didn't use any. I used constant space because I didn't use any space in reference to the size of the input. It's like it doesn't matter what the size of this input is, my space stays constant. It stays the same. So I did use space, but I used constant space. Like the amount of variables I use will stay the same based on the size of my input, because after this loops through, all these variables inside of here will be cleaned up. And so there's no data object that I'm using besides for the nums extra that I'm using to use up extra space. And so then the time complexity is that's a direct measurement to the size of my input. How many operations am I doing with big O notation? And since I'm just doing a single loop here over the nums, the amount of operations in big O notation would be n, if n is the length of the nums array. And so, the big O notation would be big O of n as far as the time complexity, big O of 1 or constant space for the space complexity. So you probably would get asked that in an interview. It'd probably be more important than even getting the problem right. In some cases, it just depends on the interviewer, depends on the company, of course. I've had it all kind of different ways. So anyway, going through all that explanation and stuff, and yeah, in the interview also, you probably have to go through an easy problem like this a lot faster than I did. I probably wouldn't over explain as much as I am though, because I'm trying to teach and trying to it's kind of a teaching thing. But if I'm going for speed, I wouldn't over explain like I am, and I wouldn't talk about interviews inside of an interview, of course. But anyway, I'm gonna just run this with LeetCode. They've changed LeetCode since the last time I was on here, so the run button's over here. All right, so I can move this up now. LeetCode, okay. So these are the two test cases from over here. Example 1 and example 2. LeetCode gives you the test cases to run. Case 1, they said I got it accepted, so the nums was this and the output should be this, and this is what I got, or this is my output and this is what they expected, which is the same. Case 2, I got that right. It's just 0, 0, 0, which that just works with my code. And another thing you can do on LeetCode is do a submission against all other LeetCode submissions and see what you get. So I guess I got green. It beat 59% or 60% in the runtime complexity, the runtime against all of the LeetCode. And with the memory I use, which is the same as the space complexity stuff I was talking about, beat 56%. So that's decent. It's okay. It's in the middle, which I expected to be. So I'm sure there's, I got a lot of people in the comments and sure there's some people that are a lot smarter than me and probably have some more optimal solutions. I would encourage you to, comment that. And I like all the comments that's been going so far. Sorry, I can't. It's hard to do these problems and answer all the stuff, all the questions and stuff together, but I appreciate all the discussion going on across the different channels. And that's basically it. I mean, this is pretty decent for the time complexity. I'm sure you can get it faster. I'm not gonna worry about that. This video is long enough for an easy problem. But yeah, I'd answer some questions or anything like that. Can you show how to do a hard problem? I've done a hard problem on here before. I haven't done these in maybe 4 or 5 months now on video. And so I'm gonna work my way back up to that. But I did a bunch of mediums. If you look in the history on my channel, whatever you're watching this on, I got some mediums on there too, and a couple hard ones. But I'm gonna start doing some more medium ones. They take a long time to do though, cause I did a hard one in the interview one time, or a bunch of times, and I mean it take up the whole interview to do one problem for some of those hard ones, like 45 minutes straight. Yeah, man, I got killed in the interview with some hard problems. I killed some of them, but I also got killed. So it's like, it is what it is. Like, everybody goes through it. You get killed in some interviews and you kill some interviews. So I killed some hard problems too, but I got murked a couple times in some of them. Some people asking, can you iterate over the array and find the zeros and then just pop them at the end? Could you iterate in the array, find the zeros, and then pop them at the end? So you could do that, but then you would be, that's actually what I first did when I first saw this problem. But I think the interviewer will probably say that you aren't doing this in place without making a copy of the array. Because if you find the zeros, then it's like, are you making a copy? That's why I was saying, I don't get what they're saying here. Are they saying not to use any extra space? Or are they saying not to make a copy? What does copy the array mean? I think that's what it means though. Like, if you take the zeros out and put them in another array, or if you take the non-zeros out and put them in another array, I think they mean that you're making a copy of the array, which they don't want you to do in this problem. So that is a good solution. If that little nugget, this little note thing here wasn't in the problem, that probably would be a good solution. That's what I'm thinking. But I appreciate you saying that, because it is a good solution. Let me see. You can't make a new array. Yep, somebody said that. Appreciate that. See what other comments on here. I got a hard problem in interview. I cried. Yeah, I definitely got killed. But I killed some interviews too. I'm starting my first SWE role at Walmart. Oh, congrats. That's what's up, man. Any tips? Jay Madison. That's what's up, man. Congrats. Well, I shouldn't even say your name, but I mean, you posted it on here. But yeah, good luck at Walmart, man. That's a good company to have on your resume, like a big name. I would say just the best advice I would say is, you're gonna have other people on the team. You're gonna learn more in this first year than you probably learned all your preparation to get the job. Just be a sponge, soak it all up. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you're gonna annoy the senior or more senior devs or more experienced folks. Always ask questions. Don't just come into a role and just disappear, man. Like, that's what a lot of junior devs will do. They'll come in a role and try to be super autonomous and disappear, and they come back with the task completely wrong when they could have just asked a couple simple questions. Because it's not your fault that you don't know. Like, a lot of this stuff is specific to companies, and you got to ask the questions because they may not have the best documentation in a certain area, or, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good to ask questions even when it seems a little annoying. Can you do some hard problems? I'm going to do some hard problems in the future for sure. Can you use sort or splice? So you can use sort or splice, but whenever you use pre-built JavaScript functions, if you use them in the interview, you better know what the time complexity of those functions are, because you can't just use them for free. Everything has a cost. So using sort and spice, and I don't know what the heck I'm talking. I'm like talking about some Spice Girls junk or something. When you use sort and spice and splice, it costs something, like, to move the array around. Cause like, you use sort, I think it's God, man, I'm blanking out on what the time complexity of sort is. The worst case time complexity. I can't remember, man. But it's worse than big old N than what I did here. So just by using that, you already do like a least optimal solution. Splice is basically almost the same thing as sort, because
Well, I wouldn't say almost the same thing. It's probably big O of N, I think, the splice. So you might be okay with doing the splice, I think, because the splice is just gonna take out. I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess is what I'm saying from the start. You gotta just make sure you. I try to avoid using those because like what happens is in the interview, the interviewer. Let's say you use those functions, those pre-built functions. The interviewer might just ask you to like don't use those. Like I had that happen. You try to use like if let's say he tells you to reverse a string and you use the built-in function reverse. He's gonna be like, "No, I want you to do it with code. I want you to do it with raw code. I don't want you to do it with a function." So I try to unless I just I absolutely have to use it. I try to avoid it, but before I go into interviews, I look up all the time complexities of all the built-in functions anyway. So I'm not saying not to use them. I'm just saying if you do, be prepared that the interviewer might ask you to not use it. And also, if you do use it, be prepared to know be prepared to make it, be able to calculate it as part of your time complexity when they ask you what it is. Yeah. Time complexity sorting in most modern libraries is big O of N. Okay. Yeah. I figured, I'm trying to think. Cause there's, I think it is big O of N, I think. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Try not to get it confused with like searching algorithms like binary search and stuff like that. So I think you're right, man. Appreciate that. I think that's DWIJ. Yeah, somebody said do it 3 stars, 2 bars, what's up? Do another challenge. I'm gonna do another one probably. I'm gonna try to do one at least once a week from now on. I fell off for like half a year. Cause like when I first started these, I was interviewing actively, so it kind of helped me, like explaining this to like 50 people or whatever, 100 people, whatever, however many it is at a time. That kind of gets me comfortable with explaining it with one person when I'm in the interview, and it kind of gets me comfortable with doing these under pressure. So this is helping me as much as I hope it's helping somebody else out there. And so I'll probably do another one next week, but at the latest, or maybe in a few days. I'm gonna try to keep doing these more often. Somebody said yeehaw, I think something like that. I love your content. Hey, appreciate it, man. I would appreciate if you do, or it would be nice if you do some projects. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing like some code with me type of stuff while I'm working on my like side projects. Just turn the camera on and just like talk through what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel like it's boring though, but maybe people will be interested in it. Please read about counter sort and radix sort for sure. Usually before I do an interview, I just go and memorize all of them. Like it's just been a minute. Let's see. This is JavaScript. My bad. I'm reading on the comments. Nlogin, big O of Nlogin. I think that's the search algorithms. Like it's like login. I think that's what I was getting mixed up with for a second. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, I also might do I did like a Ask Me Anything about like programming stuff, and those used to go off pretty good. I might try to do some more of those in the future too. But yeah, I think if anybody didn't see the problem, this was an easy one from LeetCode. You're supposed to do these in about 15. You're supposed to be able to do these in less than 15 minutes, which if you're not sitting here explaining like crazy, you need to explain to the interviewer, but like honestly, don't explain too much. Like you try to explain your thought process, but don't go into these tangents and like, because you really you don't have the time. Like you want to, show how much you know and stuff, but like, man, some of these interviewers, it's stupid. It's a game a little bit to me. Some of these interviews will ask you a hard problem. The problem takes 45. They'll literally come on the interview, start the problem,
when you get the problem done, the interview's over. Like that's all their portion of the interview is made to do, is just ask you one long problem. And so even when you have an interview with a easy problem, you still got to get through it pretty fast. You got to get through it in probably like 15-20 minutes pretty fast. So yeah. So let me see if I see any more comments and stuff like that. Hopefully it's not. I guess it's not echoing anymore. I think it's because I got a mic in front of me, and I also had my my monitor got a mic in it. I forgot I changed monitors since the last time I posted one of these, and I think the sound was coming through the monitor. So I might have messed up the whole start of the video, honestly, but it's cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a discussion going on with about the big old time complexity of, I guess y'all talking about sorting. So I mean, dang, man. I mean, I don't. Now y'all got me confused by like what it is. Oh shoot, I'm showing all my personal business on here. Hold on. Let me see. See what time complexity of JavaScript sort. Google, or I should have chat GPT'd or something, man. It's a weird question to ask on Stack Overflow, but I guess it's not weird, but it's just like, yeah, it said in log in here, but then let's see. Yeah. I think if the data, I think it's different if the data is already ordered or not. Which, I mean, that makes sense because it's already ordered. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. What the heck is that ChatGPT thing? Yeah. Oh, shoot. Time complexity of, what the heck were we talking about? JavaScript sort. Oops. Yeah. In log in. Yeah. I think it's pretty safe to say it's in log in. So yeah, that would make it basically worse than in. So yeah, basically that just means I wouldn't use a sort here. I just would just do what I did back on my code. But it can be a little confusing, man. But yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it could be different languages. Yeah, different languages can have different optimizations they have in their built-in sort. So it's not wrong to say that in some languages it can be big O of N. So definitely not saying that. My problem, I did it in JavaScript, and so I need to. My thinking when I first did this problem was not to use sort because it would not be as performant as what I did. And so based on my research just now, it wouldn't be. So in this language. So yeah. Cool. Yeah. Appreciate, yeah, I like that little discussion, man. It's how we learn. Or at least how I learn. Sometimes you gotta get it wrong to get it right. Let's see if there's any more comments I want to answer. I appreciate y'all joining. Appreciate the discussion. I'm probably gonna go ahead and jump off of here, man. Somebody said thank you for doing this. Hey, I thank you for jumping in and watching. It's hard to do, man. It's hard to get on here and explain, and then I've got on here sometimes and just completely got stuck. Like people looking at me crazy. Like, man, how you get on here and not know what not know what you're doing? But hey, it is what it is, man. Especially when I start doing those mediums and hard ones, shoot, y'all gonna be on here stuck, man. Like I did a couple in the past. I try to do the ones I know well, but then sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do the ones I want to just do one and just work through it. And shoot, them things hard to do, man. But yeah, debugging what it's all about. Rob Socks, yeah, for sure. Debugging, figuring it out. More of these, please. Yeah, definitely gonna do some more. I'll probably do some more next time. I did so many on my channel. I think I'm just gonna do a lot of those. I went through so many that I went through like a lot of the common easy ones on LeetCode. So I'm gonna have to just either graduate to some mediums on here. Like I did a bunch of mediums too, but I need to do more mediums on here, or I don't know. Or just because I think people at different levels, man. Sometimes people are coming in here and they can't handle the mediums, So I kind of want to mix it up for people, because like some people are just starting. When I first started doing these, man, like I couldn't finish these easies. Like I couldn't even figure them out, like for nothing. And then I worked my way up to being able to do mediums and then being able to do some hards. Yeah, so it's crazy. Somebody asked, are you on Twitch? Yeah, I should be streaming on Twitch right now. I'm using this like multi-streamer software stuff. So I should be on. The only one I can't do it on is TikTok. Like I have to use my phone, but the rest of them I'm doing on my computer, to YouTube, TikTok, I think Facebook, and Twitch, and Instagram. So I'm like everywhere at the same time. So yeah, man. I appreciate y'all joining, checking this out. I can keep talking, keep answering questions, whatever. Yeah, TikTok need to drop that stream key, man. TikTok tripping. I ain't got a stream key. I guess I ain't got enough followers or whatever, but shoot, TikTok is tripping on that stream key. If I had that stream key, then I don't have to put my phone, like I had his phone sitting here. Like I wouldn't have to put that there, but yeah, it's cool. And TikTok's the one I need, because TikTok usually have the most people on it, so it's crazy. Like that's the one I don't have the stream key for, and it usually has the most traffic or whatever. So it's kind of stupid. But yeah, so yeah, man, coding challenges. I hope this helps people. These things can be like, man, they can suck to deal with, even at home just by yourself, but especially in interviews. So I'm just trying to kind of like make it fun, share it. Look at my channel for old ones if you want to see some ones I've done before. I'm going to keep doing these. I'm going to get back to it. I fell off, but I'm going to get back on these. I appreciate y'all hanging with me on these. And yeah, we're going to start. Dang, JavaScript has a built-in method called move to end. I didn't know that. That's cool to use on the problem. I mean, now if you use it, if you're in an interviewer, they for sure going to tell you to code it out without, just like they're going to just magically tell you to do it without it. Or I guess not magically, but they're going to want you to do it without it, like figure it out how to do it without it. But it's probably good to know it exists for sure. So I think I broke my toe earlier. I don't know what they're talking about. It's kind of weird because I had stomped my toe like last week. So it's weird that you say that. And I did think I like broke my toe for real. It's hurting for like 3 days. All right, y'all. I think I'm gonna jump off of here unless there's any more like crazy comments or anything. I appreciate it. That's a one-liner. It said this problem's a one-liner. I mean, it's an easy one. I ain't saying it's not an easy one. It's a one-liner though. I guess you could. I don't know how you could do this one in one line, but I guess you could do it one line with a with like some sort of built-in function if something exists for that. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all in the next video. Please follow, like, subscribe. I'm on all these different channels. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. I'm forgetting one, YouTube. So if you want to watch me this same thing, you can watch it on all them different channels. can follow me on all these channels. I post, random stuff, funny videos, programming tips, career stuff, all that kind of stuff, man. I'm not a big crazy channel, nothing like that. So I'm just posting what I like to do or what my profession is. I like this stuff. I'm interested in it. So I just kind of I share in public, share my life, share what I'm working on, share this stupid interview stuff that I have to stay practiced on in case I lose my job or something. So that's the dev life. That's how it goes. So hopefully y'all stick with me and catch y'all in the next video. Appreciate it, and I'll see y'all in the next video.